Hello, everyone. Peace and blessings. Welcome back. It's me, Sister Sabrina, your therapist, your friend, your colleague. And I am so excited to welcome you back to Soul Speaks Conversation for Your Healing Journey. And for the first time, Soul Speaks now has two guests to speak with. Our continued conversations about your healing journey, about all of our healing journeys, continues today. And this question comes from LW. And LW writes, Dear Dr. Sabrina, I'm a 48-year-old Black woman and the executive director of a nonprofit service-based agency. Since the election, I have struggled to motivate myself and my staff and to keep doing the work. I'm holding on, but barely. What can I do to fix this now? So, here to help us answer LW's question are two of my favorite colleagues, dear friends, Rosemary Lombard and Patrice Webb. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about these women, and then they're going to answer this question from LW from their hearts as well. So, Rosemary Lombard was born into a social justice family. She is the daughter of a civil rights activist and a labor organizer. She's an innovator in incubating community and institutional partnerships focused on resilience building, population-wide trauma relief, and improving education systems. She's the founder and principal of Lombard Studios, a management consulting company that works with visionary leaders and philanthropy to reimagine solutions that create a more just world. For over 20 years, Rosemary has guided strategic growth and established programs for international nonprofits and mission-based organizations. She created systems, practices, and strategies for the Education Development Center's global portfolio and grew that portfolio from 8 million to 50 million in 19 countries over 7 years. And for the Center for Mind-Body Medicine, she doubled its trauma relief training work for over 10 years. She artfully builds a balance between structure and support to generate impact. Equal parts entrepreneurial and collaborative, Rosemary brings a background in finance, international development, and empathy to her work, guiding strategic growth at nonprofits, in health systems with philanthropy, and through public-private partnerships. That's just a little snippet of this woman that's here to talk to us today. My other guest is Patrice Webb. She's a storyteller, an organizational scientist, a public affairs leader, EMDR trained and grief certified trauma informed leadership advisor. And Patrice is on a mission to reframe narratives and reimagine what's possible. As a public and private industry affairs and stakeholder and engagement executive for more than 20 years at organizations like Election Systems and Software, American Beverage Association, and Heineken USA, she understands the power of choice and that change happens only when old beliefs are released. She led policy changes at the federal and state level, as well as in local jurisdictions on issues around interstate commerce, voting rights, telecom net neutrality, shipping and container safety, responsible consumption of alcohol, front of pack labeling, and consumer choice. She's also led company-wide cultural shifts and membership engagement transformations internally. Patrice knows the power of stories to shift beliefs, spark change, and create new outcomes. She's the founder and the principal at Indwelling Consulting, where she uses behavioral science to identify cognitive styles and hidden filters that people use to inform their choices and guide their decisions. She's a co-founder of the Tell Love Stories movement to remind people that everything happens for you, not to you. And a proud volunteer dog foster and caretaker of Nikki, her foster baby dog. So I just want to welcome both of you again. And I'm so excited that the people that are listening to Soul Speak get to get a taste of who you are and what you're bringing to the planet. And so I'd love for both of you to take a turn. Maybe we'll just start with Rosemary because I'm looking at you first. Rosemary, what's the first thing that comes to your mind when you sit with LW's question?
Thank you, Sabrina. It's so wonderful to be with you and Patrice. And I have so much empathy for LW. And the first thing that comes to mind
Mm,
is to breathe and you take care of herself. Before she can do anything with her staff, she has to do something for herself. Her staff are watching. They can see, they can feel, what she might be projecting or experiencing. And so my first words of advice is to breathe, come into the moment, look around, acknowledge her own safety, and to relax the nervous system so that she can tap into her wisdom about what to do next, about the practical things to do, and move out of the fear, fight response.
beautiful. And if LW were sitting here with us on this call, how would you direct her in that breath? Or would you direct her?
Sure, I would invite her to take some breaths with me. So
Yeah.
I
Can
would
you
sit
do that
with
with us?
her. Sure, I would sit with her and I would say, find a comfortable seat in your chair, maybe move around, shrug the shoulders, just notice, how you're holding tension and just begin to breathe slowly, breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. I would invite her to close her eyes to limit distractions. And with every breath, breathe in the life source, breathe in what connects us all, what unifies us all. And on the exhale, breathe out any tension and just listen to the body where there might be aches or pains. And whatever you hear from the body, just breathe into that space, breathing oxygen to all parts of the body. And just a few more breaths, I would have her breathe in through the nose, out through the mouth, just noticing any sensations, slowing down her heart rate with the breath in through the nose, out through the mouth. Keeping the belly soft, breathe in and exhale. And then slowly open your eyes. Come into this moment, into this space.
Beautiful. Thank you, Rosemary. And I heard you speak of how important it is for LW to breathe because her staff and the people that she's working with can also feel that energy. And for her to care for herself first, which would then also impact the people that she's leading as well. Thank you, Rosemary. Patrice,
Yes.
what would be your first tidbit of, or what's the first thing that comes to your mind when you heard LW's plea for help?
Yeah. Thank you also for inviting me to share space with the two of you, my teachers, now friends and colleagues. I'm excited to be at this part of my own journey. Um, to be honest, the first, not that I would be dishonest, but the first thing that comes to mind as a leader and trying to carry the knowing that your team is struggling
Mhm.
and that most teams see themselves as bodies of doers. I would probably invite them to physically do something, whether it's a group walk, whether it's maybe turn on some music, have, sort of 5 second or excuse me, 5 minute dance party, something to kind of move the body and allow people to relax their face, incorporating the breath work, which Rosemary just took us through, which can be still collective, even if it's faster. And the calming breath work is great for grounding before a discussion or a planning session. So I would, my instinct is to move. When I realize the weight of what I'm responsible for, I don't want to just stand still and hold it. So that would be my question is, what do you feel? And then where in the body is it? And if she can identify where it is, then I would either go in the direction of either a grounding breath or perhaps some movement, just based on where LW is feeling what she's saying, which is phenomenal that she can even put words to it, because most of us struggle in that space.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you. We actually have like a little structure for LW already. First, identify the challenge, take a deep breath, then move your body. So we've already figured out together how to help LW bring her parasympathetic nervous system into dominance so that she can make sound decisions moving forward. And that ties into the next question I have is I know you've met the two of you. You've got these great, amazing bios. I just read a little short snippet of what you've done. So I know you've met LW 1,000 times. I know you've been LW 2 or 3 times in all these different careers you've had. All three of us, we've been LW, right? And so we know her, we've met her, we've seen her, we've supervised her, we've cried with her, we've laughed with her, we've grown up with her. So, what do you want her to know about herself right now as it relates to who she is and ultimately her healing journey? Because she's on a healing journey. And either one of you can pop out and answer it, and we'll just wait and listen.
I think it's we know her, we are her, we've grown up with her. I think that those are really important pieces of the context. And I think what I would say to her is that she has everything she needs, that she has everything she needs within. And so it's a part of settling in, settling down, and being able to tap into the wisdom that she has, that she knows she has, and the wisdom that she has in her spiritual ancestors that she may not even know she has, but it's all there for her to access.
Yeah, beautiful. And it's so true. And it feels like the truth, even as you utter it. And what happens to us when someone tells us, you have everything you need? And that's sort of what I guide people when they come to me for therapy, as I say to them, you have everything you need, hun. It's just that life has gotten in the way and other parts of your nervous system have taken control and you have forgotten. So the stillness that you spoke of in the beginning and the awareness of the body that you spoke of, Patrice, is really about people coming back to who they were before all this stuff got in the way. Yeah, thank you for that reminder to all the LWs that we are and we were. And I see you nodding, Patrice. What's coming up for you as a response to that question?
Yeah, what I'm thinking about is grief. And,
Mm-hmm.
you know, from a science perspective, we now know that there's 9 types, but there's surely other types of grief, if you will. And I'm thinking about going back to the role of leader, how much you're holding, how much LW is holding awareness for her team and herself at the same time. And then you're also holding accountability for
Yeah.
leading and delivering. And if it's a service provider, then you've got your clients or your customers, you've got your board, you've got all these things that LW is holding. And I appreciate being invited to focus when I feel overwhelmed. So I would probably ask, what's today been like? To kind of get out of this is the thing since November that I'm carrying. And instead, what is today, whatever the date might be? what has today been like, and bringing her to focus on today. And then I appreciate the practical understanding along with the emotional understanding of what I'm feeling. So LW knows her team best. If this makes sense for them, great. If not, go in a different direction. But I think being able to unpack the fact that they're experiencing a shared grief, it's a collective grief that's also disenfranchised grief, where not everybody, outside of the organization or within the organization may understand what they're all going through. And being able to dialogue around being able to call it out and being able to kind of look at it and understand that grief is grief. It is complicated. To be quite frank, we don't do well with grief, on this planet, and especially in this country. We want everybody to get past it. We're in January, election was in November. What are you worried about? No, that is not how it works. Your body takes as long as it takes, just like, when is my hair going to grow? When it grows, it takes as long as it takes. And the invitation is always there for us to be in that discomfort, at the same time being aware that really beautiful things are going to come up. The cohesion of her team, I would imagine, if they're practicing this type of intimate dialogue, talking about what's happening, is getting tighter. The ideas of how do we work with less? How do we work around these perceived challenges? All of that is fantastic for a team to be able to work together in developing, even though they might be in a very uncomfortable experience, as I'm calling it, grief, of the weight of all this that's happening. And it's not bypassing what I'm saying. I'm not suggesting to ignore the pain of it. I'm suggesting, as you mentioned in my bio, and what I truly believe is that we always have the invitation to experience whatever it is we're experiencing from the lens of it's happening for me. It's happening for us. As complicated as that may seem as a concept, the sooner that we can be on that page of how is this helping me? How is this working for us? The sooner that we can get to the place of allowing, which is what we really aspire to do, to not be disrupted or affected by everything that happens around us, so that we can just be, because life is going to continue, challenges are going to continue, disappointment is going to continue, happiness is going to continue, joy is going to continue. It's all going to continue. And I was very long-winded with my response.
Your response was so important, however. There's no however. Your response was important, because what you did is you named the emotion. And very few of us want to recognize that what we're experiencing is grief. And it is collective. And the other word you used was disenfranchised. And it's complicated.
Yes.
It's complex grief. Yes. And it's reactivating old incidences of grief that we thought were resolved because we kept on moving. Mm-hmm. And now we're like, oh God, that hit me again. LW is hit again. Oh, and her heart is breaking. And mm-hmm. for us to really remember that, you're right, it's more than just an election. It is a valid grief response to a history of unresolved grief responses. Yeah. And I've been looking at what you've been saying as also an opportunity for liberation. If we didn't have the option of responding to grief in the past, mm-hmm. and we have it now, mm-hmm. what a gift that is. To be able to take a pause and say, I am sad, I am angry, I am afraid, I am frustrated, and I'm also grateful, and full of love.
Yeah.
And oh my gosh, who are these amazing women I get to hang out with? You can have all at the same time. And that is something that our ancestors did not always have.
Yes.
So it can be a gift. And Rosemary mentioned going back into our ancestry and looking at how they overcame so many obstacles. So we can call on the ones that are in our lineage, our blood lineage, but also ones that, because historically, Black people don't care about blood lineage anyway. We just your auntie is your auntie. I am Mama Sabrina now, which feels weird when 40-year-olds call me that, but that's what it is. Um, so it moves beyond biological lineage to historical lineage to we're a tribe.
Mhm.
We were forced into a tribe, but it's our tribe. And to be able to look at all of them and to say, how did Toni Morrison manage this crap? How did Harriet manage this? And to call on each of them for guidance, because each of them have a different they had a different experience of grief and loss,
For sure.
a different experience of American racism.
Yeah.
Some were the same, some were different, but American racism is real, oppression is real. And LW, this Black woman leading an organization, a part of what she's experienced is years of the impact of American racism on her body, on her mind, and her spirit. And
Sabrina,
you were going to add something, love?
yeah, there are two things that are coming to mind. Patrice so beautifully articulated various emotions, kinds of emotions that come up. And I think it's so important to be able to acknowledge them, feel them, and not suppress them. Some of them might be challenging, some of them might be difficult, some of them might be joyous. And there's no compartmentalizing. If you cannot feel the difficult, you also can't feel the joy. And so really, to think about how to feel the full range, so that you're not stuck and you're not suppressing and limiting, what is there that's positive, that's life force that's keeping you going. That's one thought. And then the second thought is thinking about abundance and, our lineage, our ancestors, our spiritual ancestors, our historical ancestors, and also the land
Mhm.
and nature. And I think I've been thinking a lot about how nature deals with crisis and, how nature rejuvenates, how strong life is in nature, how seeds spread. And so sometimes, taking a walk outside and just noticing what happens when things need to compost and what it looks like, and maybe come back again a month later and what does that look like? And then, that everything is happening right now under the ground. We can't see it, but it's happening. And in a few months, we'll begin to see it. And so using all of these resources, including nature as a guide to pathways to take care, to rebirth, to regenerate, and to use your own creativity. I know you have a lot of experience of tapping into one's creativity as a resource, and I think there's so much depth there.
I love that you just brought that up in nature because I mean we all realize the benefits of being outside, taking deep breaths, taking walks, and seeing, and the similarities to what's, to your point, under the ground and what's in our bodies, the nervous system in our bodies, the mycelium network underneath the trees and everything, where it's so interesting that our nervous system doesn't have language, right? That's what we're talking about, the feelings and being able to allow the feelings. And under the ground doesn't have feelings, but it has a language that it doesn't question because it doesn't have the mind that we have that makes it complicated. And I think agree with you. I walk every morning with my dog, and Nikki is my dog. I have foster failed. I have adopted her. I
Oh,
foster other dogs just in case she actually understands language.
that's
I
right. Just
want
in case.
her to feel like she's temporary. But what I'm getting at is seeing even conflict in nature. Like I love when we get through this deep frost, we're going to see the sun, the temperature drop is going to go up, and we're going to start seeing grass coming through, right? The grass and the dirt are not at war. They're not fighting. The grass is negotiating with the dirt. Okay, we're ready to come up now. And it's just happening. Imagine if we could do that, for ourselves, with our own nervous system and our own emotions, and with each other in a bigger space. Like LW is probably dreaming of being able to when we can get to this point where, the ideological differences are not painful, and instead they're tables that we can sit around and talk about things. It's so interesting that we have this fantastic example in nature all around us of how conflict and grief is just part of the flow moving forward. And as humans, as people, we get stopped by the conflict, by the discomfort, by the difference. That begs the question, or perhaps a longer conversation of how do we get to the flow that we see and have the flow within?
No, that's a beautiful question because that ties into the last question I want to ask the two of you, and that is, um, you both have been helping so many women in their healing journeys in your way, in the beautiful way that you have touched so many lives. And I know that both of you are in this wonderful chapter in your lives right now where you're really focused on guiding women leaders, particularly Black women leaders in their healing journey. So what are some of the things that you want to hope to do for the LWs, for the Black women in leadership as they continue to rise, as they always have and they always will? You're nodding your head, Patrice. You have an idea? What are you
This
hoping to
is,
do?
yes, I'm doing it for myself. I'm practicing for myself.
Absolutely.
The following: asking myself, or identifying when I know that I have the capacity for something, and then asking myself, but what do I want to do? Capacity and what do you want to do are two different things. And I know that I operated in I have the capacity to do it, so I'm going to do it. No matter how difficult it was, never stop to think about, does this feed me what I'm giving out? And only recently, like I said, I've been able to get to this place of awareness. The capacity is not the same thing. My capacity is not the same thing as whether or not I want to do something. Now, in a leadership role, you don't always have the freedom of that choice, of those things being separate. But as individuals, for ourselves, I believe that that's a fantastic starting place. In the morning, we wake up, what do I have the capacity to do? And then ask yourself, what do I want to do today? Building that pattern, that when you get to those places where it feels like conflict, then you can answer those questions with clarity and honesty, which doesn't leave room for resentment. It doesn't leave room for regret, because you're asking yourself honestly, what is my capacity? And then what do I want to do?
That's beautiful questions for self-examination. Thank you, Patrice. Anything you want to add, Rosemary?
I think similar to Patrice, I've been thinking about my own practice. So I've been trying to be in practice of self-awareness, using all kinds of tools, journaling, movement, meditation. And then I've been putting more intention around being in community. And I think, you know, doing your own, cultivating your own practice as little or as much as it needs to be. It's really, it could be 2 minutes of just sitting in silence or 2 minutes of jumping up and down and moving, but something that connects you with yourself. And I think that each person is unique and has their own unique, highest purpose.
Mm.
And so to try and work towards getting closer to that, because when you have that awareness of what it is, of what it feels like, even if you don't have the words, it feels like this. It looks like this color. When you begin to connect with that, your idea of success becomes your own aligned journey. And all of the shoulds, the could haves, all of those things begin to melt away when you get clear. So doing something, having a practice to get clear is one piece. And then the second piece, I think, is being in community and, relating and learning and mutual support. We're not meant to be soul creatures without community. And so that is also a part of that practice being in community.
Mm. Yeah, no, it's so, so important. And what both of you are shared is reminding me of some of the things that one of my spiritual teachers said. And one of them was when I was in a challenge in my own healing journey, because life is happening, she looked at me and she said, Sabrina, you are walking in the tall grass right now.
Mm.
You are in the tall grass. And there
Yeah.
is nothing you can do to change that grass, but keep walking. There is
Yeah.
light on the other side.
Yeah.
And I remember saying, I can't walk by myself. It's okay. I'm walking with you.
Yeah.
So I did all the things, the journaling, the meditation, the prayer, the screaming, the yelling, the writing, the obscenities, all of that, because all of them are beneficial while I walked through the tall grass and I wasn't alone. And I let go of the illusion that I was alone. And so, one of the things that I think the three of us are doing is we're helping other women release themselves from the illusion that they are by themselves. Separation is a lie.
Mhm.
And so, we're actually demonstrating to all the LWs because here we are, three Black women in leadership who've decided to come together to guide other Black women in leaderships. And we have our projects that we are working on separately and projects that we're working on together. And we're creating these glorious little Venn diagrams of life. That was the conversation we had the other day. Like this is we're the one of the Venns, right? And so a part of what we want you to know, LW, is that there are so many circles of Black women that want to be in a circle with you, that want to guide you, that want to support you, that want to assist you in some of the skills that we know work to help every single last one of us heal in the midst of adversity, to be here in the present moment through all the sorrow and all the joy. And I know we just have a couple of moments left. Um, I know that the three of us have some glorious plans for the LWs of the world, but I just want to see if you or Rosemary or Patrice have like one or two final words that you want to share before we
Yeah.
pause.
Go ahead. Rosemary.
Just one little note. I had a teacher tell me once, there's a difference between pain and discomfort. Pain
Mm-hmm.
causes damage. Discomfort is the sweet sensation of success.
Ooh, ooh, I like it.
And
Thank
so,
you.
sometimes when something's, uncomfortable, your sort of natural response is, oh, I don't like it. I don't want it. And sometimes that discomfort is moving you, is shifting you, is creating space for something to be born. And so be in it, not pain, not something that causes damage, but the discomfort, it can be okay. It's not permanent.
Beautiful. Thank you, Rosemary. Patricia, would
Um, Yeah, I would love to add really kind of two things. And this concept of what if, the trying on. Uh,
Mhm.
but before I get there, I want to say, just as a reminder, because I remind myself every day, this beautiful brain of ours, of mine, yours, of LW's, hosts 60,000 thoughts a day, about 60,000,
Whoa.
but can really only focus on about 20%, right? So that's
Mm.
like about what, 12,000 thoughts. Of that, 85% of the thoughts that run through our beautiful brains are negative. They're going to small us because the brain wants to scan for threats. And
Mhm.
of that 85%, of the 12,000 that we were able to process and actually act on, 95% are on repeat.
Mm.
So everything we're talking about today, the breath work, moving your body, being in community, talking with people, trying to put words to how you're feeling, thinking about what do I want versus what do I have capacity to do, and moving forward in that direction. That's a practical way to kind of begin that. Our brains are here to protect us. Our brains are here to influence us, but it's our heart that we want to be leading us. So
Mm.
knowing that 60,000 thoughts, 85% are negative, 95% are on repeat, but you can only process 12,000 of those 60,000 thoughts is a wonderful invitation to give ourselves a little grace and try on when we're with somebody else. I live in DC and I walk the dog all the time, nation's capital. Lots of this is being felt in my neighborhood, right a few blocks from the White House. My body will want to assume something about somebody I may be approaching, never met them, don't know them. And I say to myself, what if? What if I'm wrong about the assumption I want to make about this person? What if? So that's what I would want to leave.
Beautiful. Mm. What if? So we end with the idea of infinite possibilities to help the LWs in their healing journey. So I want to thank y'all from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for coming, for bringing your full heart, for bringing all this lush information. And I can't wait to see what we co create. And I can't wait to see what we share. Thank you so much. Thank you, all of y'all, for listening. And I can't wait to see what we do together. Peace and blessings, everyone.